Hello, welcome if you're new to this channel. My name is SpycyShark. I am primarily a digital artist, but I wanted to share some of my traditional art supplies as well. And alright, well, let's start. For traditional, I mostly have been using this global arts material sketchbook. I have shared it before. For these sketchbooks, they have two different types of paper, of weight. I want to say this is probably like a 40 pound, so it's the lighter of the two. I'll double check that. It is cheaper than the heavier ones. I don't do any like crazy washes. This is just for fun, diary, just practicing. And for the materials that I use for this book, I do use some Posca pens. I've had people ask, oh, where do you get these? You can get these online, and then most art stores do carry them. There's usually a very limited amount of colors in my experience, depending how big or small your art store is. The whole box can be a little more expensive, but it can be cheaper in the long run. There are, in places like Amazon or JetPens, sometimes they have the whole set and it's way cheaper. Oh yeah, just examples of what that kind of looks like. For example, on this page, this is done with Posca. I also use this little guy for highlighting things. I don't know if I have any examples here. So these like little white shinies, those are all white Posca. I mostly keep my watercolors in these this really basic palette. You could just find this. It's plastic, it's lightweight, and I could definitely use a cleaning. And then the watercolors I use there are some Winsor & Newtons, but my favorite, these are like the really shiny ones, because they apparently have honey in them, are by Graham & Co. For fun, these are these color sheets. You can buy them on their website, Vivia. If you draw a lot on the go, I think this is really cool. Their colors are super vibrant. You just use a wet brush and it activates it. You also have to be careful because it can get on your hands as well. And I don't know how non-toxic or toxic these are, so it's probably just best to either wear gloves or just keep... Oh, biodegradable. Cool. Let me see. I have a few color tests. This is another one of these sketchbooks, and here I did the color tests. You could probably see these are the Vivia ones. They're quite bright. And then right here I did M. Graham, which are a little duller, but still good. Also, for lining, sometimes, see these blue lines? Sometimes I use, and I guess in this case brown lines, I use these inks. They're called Daler and Rowney, I guess? FW inks. This is Rowney Blue. So they're acrylic inks. I guess it doesn't matter the brand. And yeah, my favorite colors are blue and burnt umber for lining. And then I usually use a pretty thin brush. Now these brushes, I can't say exactly where they're from. I got them off Amazon. I just looked up a set. These also came from an Amazon pack. So if you just like to do just fun watercolor stuff, I don't think you have to go too expensive. You can use student grade. I just use those packs and they last me quite a bit, just as long as you clean them properly. Alright, and that's for watercolor sketchbook and water media, as well as Posca. I also really enjoy the sketchbook. So this is my meat and potatoes, I suppose, of making art. I'm using a Posca pen. I put ink Posca Copic. It's mostly ink and Copic. And I started this last year. Just have a few more pages left. This is Crescent Render. My biggest gripe is that it doesn't lay completely flat, so scanning it is a pain. But since it's mostly just for thumbnails, things don't have to be pretty. I'm not going to be selling anything in here as prints. So I have these Copic sketches. I've been collecting them since I was in high school. They do run a little expensive. There are other types of alcohol markers nowadays that probably won't be as ridiculously expensive. And then here's the thing. These markers are not really archival. They're mostly meant just to make designs, get the colors out, scan it, move on. So I wouldn't recommend selling art with these. You could, but they will fade and or yellow. Awesome pencil bag I got from my friend who made it. So these zebra brush pens, they're just like a little felt pen. I really like them because it's just easy to make quick designs. I don't use pencil a lot for sketches, or at least because I do like a little under sketch with these coal erase ones. This is mostly my preferred to go to is the pink color. So I do the sketch and then I usually just outline it with one of these or these. This one's a little fatter. It's actually double tipped. So we got the larger nib on this side and the slimmer nib on this one. They're both pretty large, so that's why I usually go with this one. This is a size medium. There are finer ones, but I personally have a harder time getting lightweight with that. And mostly where I get my pens is through Jet Pens in the US, but if you have a Japanese stationery store nearby, they'll likely have these as well. I don't know about the Cola Race. This is by Prismacolor. But yeah, I just got these online on Blick. And that is that for traditional art. I have a lot of other random miscellaneous things, like I bought these clips. I thought these were aesthetic. I found them on Amazon. Nothing particularly special. I don't use a lot of this. Oh yeah. Lastly, I think it's called a Sumo eraser. I barely have anything of it left. Say it is a Sakura brand, so I'm sure you can find it at either an art store or a Japanese stationery store, most likely. Okay, so digital art, digital tools. For my tablet, I use this. That's upside down. It is an iPad Air 5, like a little bit over 10 inches. So it's not very big. It's about the size of a medium sketchbook. If you plan on doing digital art for full time and you don't want to get an additional tablet for your computer, I would go with a bigger size. This is just mostly for portability. Oh, and the case itself, it's called Pro Cases. It is magnetic. It's like probably $20. These are some of my favorite apps. My favorite is definitely Procreate. I also like using Milanote for mood boards. I use the general photos things for collecting my own photos and art I have done in the past. I keep it pretty minimal. We have Twitter, which is one of the places I post the most. Trello for commissions. Pinterest just for general inspiration. A calendar app and Notion. I don't use Notion as much, but it is good to have in the background for me. And that is that. So I forgot to mention, I do use a little glove because that makes it way smoother. I just found that when I don't have a glove, it feels really grippy and it's hard to get nice clean lines. The brushes I use for painting. Sticks is nice, hemp is nice. I also use some of these Max U brushes. I'll put a link below. A lot of these are just painterly brushes. I think Procreate is very good at mimicking or getting that organic sort of look for painting. So I use this a lot for my backgrounds. There's no particular order or anything. I just kind of like test things and I'm like, ooh, this is a good leaf one. I love Procreate for painting, but I also love it for lining. My favorite lining brush at the moment is this Lily Sketch Low. Now I put a little stabilizer for it. Let me see, stabilization. I turned it up to 30%. And I think it works very nicely. You can get a variety of lines. Here are some of the pictures I used with this. For sketching, Derwent one is nice. It just has a nice sketch. It is totally possible to color in it. It's just a pain for me a bit. I use the freehand color fill a lot. It just saves time. So this is my basic workstation. It's just a PC. I'm getting kind of crazy here because I'm using my webcam to film this. So this tablet is a Wacom Cintiq 16. I started with a tablet that does not have a screen on it, and it was a little Wacom tiny little square thing that just connected directly to my monitor, and I would just look at my monitor and see what was going on. Just whatever is affordable if you just want to get into digital art. If you want to check out the iPad, I recommend going to the Apple Store itself or whatever electronic store you have and testing it out and seeing how it feels. This is on a mount because the little stand it comes with is not ergonomic enough, so there would be a lot of back pain. I would highly recommend getting a mount. This one went for $75, which is not cheap, especially after you drop like around 600 plus with this. You don't need all this tech. This is what I use currently. And this is after I've been drawing digitally since I want to say 2010, and then drawing on a more quote-unquote professional level since 2015. Okay, so I guess the rest of this video is gonna be taking place digitally. Alright, last but not least, we have Clip Studio Paint. And then, so this is my personal workspace. I like putting the color wheel, the paints, color. As far as pens go, I don't really have a favorite one for this one because I do enjoy doing line art in Procreate. However, I do really like painting with this because it reminds me of Paint Tool Sci, which is a program I used before. That is also a cheaper alternative. I think it starts at $50. Especially if you haven't touched digital art before, I think that's a good gateway. But because I like Sci so much, I decided to look up brushes that were similar to Sci. And it's like these like watery brushes. I enjoy coloring in this a lot more. And the other reason why I enjoy... So for example, with this giant picture, I used a lot of layers and a lot of clipping layers. So you can do clipping layers in Procreate. However, you can't clip to an entire folder. The layer for lines, and then it just clips onto these lines, if that makes any sense. So there's a lot more customization. Do I recommend using this many layers? Not necessarily, but I do enjoy it for effects. And then you could also just check your colors with using the hue and saturation. I use black and white to check my values. It's just easier for me, in my opinion, for finalizing drawings. So that's my favorite art supplies, the art supplies I currently use at the moment. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I can get into specifics. I will have some of the items linked below. If I'm missing anything, feel free to comment. And thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and hopefully see you in the next video. Bye!